Shalom. I'll give all honor and praises to YAHAWAH. YAHAWAHSHI, QADASH, the one understood elders and apostle great millstone. The teaching of the truth is authority. Citation is hopeful and spirit that forth us ago. This is going to be a daily verse entitled Mark 8:34-35. The reads, and when he had called the people unto him with his disciples also, he said unto them, whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Okay. Now, the reason why the Lord made this statement, because early, above that precept, okay, Matthew 8:33 reads, but when he had turned about and looked on his disciples, he rebuked Peter, saying, get thee behind me, Satan, for thou savorest not the things that be of the Most High, but the things that be of men. Right. You know. Right. So, and when you go down, he made the point of, they're going to be a test, okay? The spirit they're saying they're gonna, he gonna try to, the spirit gonna try to attack you, right? Attack your faith, attack your beliefs, right? But that's the cross is ultimately referring to that armor, okay? It's referring to the armor, okay? That goes in Ephesians 6, I believe. That cross, referring to the armor, okay? The armor of the Lord, right? Put up, take up your armor, right? And follow the Lord, okay? Because what, you're gonna get afflicted, okay? That represent affliction. That represent put on a strong mindset, right? Putting on a strong mindset, okay? Be willing to basically be willing to endure, okay? Endure trials, endure afflictions, okay? And let's go back to the now when you read it, so for whosoever would save his life should lose it. Well, whosoever should lose his life for my sake and the gospels, the same should be the same to save it, right? Many of the 2/3 Jake out here who don't want to get the truth, right? Want to continue to just live after their flesh, right? They're trying to save their life, right? But ultimately they're gonna lose at the end, right? Because what? They're not gonna be the first fruit to the kingdom of heaven, right? They're not gonna receive the salvation, right? Their nuclear fire is their destruction, okay? And real living, right, is what? Is repenting and obeying the will of the Lord, okay? That's true living, okay? And we losing our brothers and sisters, right? We losing our life, okay, for the YAHAWAHSHI sake, And the gospel sake, right? The truth, right? This is that we were sent out as sheep among wolves, right? but we're gonna save it, right? That's what goes back to everlasting life, right? Salvation, okay? And then and going back to rich man, right? That had a lot of that had many land, right? Many riches such as your land and where um your different cows, okay? He was trying to follow the Lord, but the Lord said you gotta go and sell everything you had, then you can come follow me. And guess what? That rich man said no. He said because he had many things, right? So he wasn't willing to give up his riches. He wasn't willing to sell his riches, right? And that when the Lord said that, he was basically saying, don't go give to the poor, okay? Give to the poor. The Lord wasn't like just sell everything you had like for you to become homeless or but just to give to the poor. Go give to the poor. Don't don't put your focus on your riches, right? You know, don't just put your attention on your riches, okay? You know, because the Lord he'll bring rich. He will bring rich, brothers in the truth, right? And those brothers are what to help out, those brothers, that might not have a lot, okay? That don't have a lot, okay? So I'm gonna close here by giving all the praises to Yahawah. Shabbat Shalom. Next time, say shalom.